Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the daily market analysis. I'm your host, Trader Kim. So today, starting with the fundamentals, as it is our custom. Last week we had some couple of news. Last week we had a couple of news, and we had the CPI, we had the PPI came in, and looking at this week, today we have the bank holiday for the card and for the dollar. That is today. So tomorrow on Tuesday we'll be having the monetary policy statement that is for Australian, and also we'll be having the climate change that is for the pound, and also we'll be having the Bank of England governor be speaking. That's the Governor Bailey be speaking tomorrow, and also we'll be having the news for the card that is the CPI, and also looking on Wednesday, and also tomorrow we'll be having Trump will be speaking. That is a tentative. So on Wednesday we'll be having the monetary policy for the NZD, New Zealand, and also be having the CPI for the pound, and also be having the FOMC meeting. We'll be having the FOMC meeting, that is the Fed meeting, that is on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we'll be having the news, that is employment change, unemployment rate, and unemployment claims for the dollar. So on Friday, we'll be having the back of the RBA governor will be speaking. That is the Reserve Bank of Australia governor will be speaking. Governor Bullock will be speaking, and also be having the manufacturing PMI for the pound. We'll be having the German manufacturing PMI and the services PMI, and also be having the retail sales for the card. Be having the manufacturing PMI, and be having the services PMI for the dollar. And lastly, we having the Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney speaking. So you can see this week we'll be speaking a lot of monetary statements, and that is for the AUD, and for the NZD, we'll be having the monetary policy. And talking about this monetary policy or the interest rates, we've been seeing most of the central banks has been cutting their rates. So let's talk about that. So I've been seeing most of the central banks have been cutting their rates. And talking about the Bank of England, we saw it cutting their rates. We also saw ECB cutting their rates. We also saw the Bank of Canada cutting their rates. We also saw the Swiss National Bank cutting their rates. So we've been seeing a lot of central banks has been cutting their rates. We've been seeing a lot of central banks have been cutting their rates. So talking about the dollar. We saw that the dollar or the USD did not see a rate cut. So we saw the rate remaining unchanged. And that's why talking about the idea of the DXY, we're looking at here. Talking about the DXY, talking about the fundamentals, talking about the technicals, you should be able to know where the market is regarding of the DXY. So talking about the DXY, so we have a couple of these orders flow, and talking about the last month data, so we're talking about the GDP. So talking about the GDP, so the GDP decreasing, that is from 2.7 to 2.3. So that means it is negative for the dollar. Talking about the PMI, but this week we'll be having the PMI, that is manufacturing PMI and the services PMI. So talking about the PMI, we saw it increasing from 49.3 to 50.9. We also saw services PMI, we saw it decreasing from 54.2. And talking about the retail sales. We saw the retail sales last week. We saw it came in negative for the dollar. Talking about the CPI, it came in positive. And talking about the CPI, we're talking about the inflation. And talking about the inflation, we might go into a stagflation. We might go to the stagflation, where we'll be seeing that the growth will be decreasing while the inflation is increasing. So that's particularly the stagflation. It's something that I'll be looking. And also we had the PPI. So the PPI came in positive for the dollar. So the NFP, combining the NFP came in positive. And we saw for this one, we saw the data was revised. So the data was revised, talking about that unemployment rate was good for the dollar, and employment claims last week came in positive for the dollar. So looking at these metrics, these metrics, we can see that the DXY as so there's that room for selling for some time. So that's selling for weakening of the dollar, but not talking about the longer term selling of the dollar. So that's why we'll be talking about some pullbacks. So right now we'll be talking some pullbacks for the DXY. And looking at the charts, maybe you can go on to the chart. You can start with the idea of the DXY. And the chart, looking at the DXY right now, you can see that our trade gave us a pattern of head and shoulders. So the pattern gave us a head and shoulder. And last week, you saw the market closing below these daily candles. So what does it mean on the DXY? It means that the DXY will be seeing some sell momentum. And for this one, this DXY will be tested for it coming all the way. It will be stated for it coming all the way to the 200 EMA. So the 200 EMA, that is on daily time frame, is going to be tested for us looking for dollar bullish at this point. But right now, we're expecting for a dollar bearish all the way to the 200 EMA. So talking about the DXY, we see we had the Trump tariffs. That is about the taxes on the Canada, and also we also saw the tariffs imposed on Mexico and the China. So we can see that the DXY talking about the Trump tariffs, that's why you can see that the market is going up and down. So we're seeing a lot of things happening on US, but that's something that I'll be looking on the Trump speeches. So going to check on the currencies, we can start with the idea of the Euro USD. And I'm talking about the Euro USD. So for looking at the dollar index, what I'd be interested to look for sales opportunities on the DXY, I'd be interested to check some of the sort. Interested to see some pullbacks to confirm that we are in a dollar bearish. So be interested to see some sort of things coming to this point, and some sort of bearishness. So I'll be interested to see some pullback as this region, so that we can go all the way to the 200 EMA. The DXY will break 200 EMA. I will proceed all the way to the 800 EMA. So talking about the DXY, expecting some pullbacks, and we short all the way to the 200 EMA. And if it break, that is a 200 EMA, we're going all the way to the 800 EMA. So that's my point on the DXY. Coming to look on the currencies, we can start with the idea of the Euro USD. And talking about the Euro USD on the higher time frame, Euro USD on the higher time frame, we can see that we are still in a downward trend. You can see we are still on downward trend. But for us to be interested to add more position where we have this 200 EMA. So at this point is where you're interested for us to look for buy for sales opportunities at the 200 EMA. So it's interested for us looking for sales opportunities. So that region is where we interested to look for sales opportunities, and also looking at this trade on the daily time frame. Okay, looking at this trade on the daily time frame, you can see we have this structure. So maybe you can minimize my chart. You can see we have that structure, and from that structure, we started to see some pullbacks to come and retest that structure. And where we have that structure is where we can see we have the 200 EMA. And we started to see some sort of the buy momentum all the way to this region. And when coming to the lower time frame, that is on H1 time frame. The lower time frame, you can see we are getting some sort of the sales opportunities. You can see we are getting some sort of sales opportunities. But for this one, looking for sales opportunities, maybe we'll be selling all the way to the 50 EMA, so that we can look for opportunities to long this trade all the way to the 200 EMA. That is on the daily time frame. We try to set our trade at the 200 EMA to be a low risk trade. So we tested to end up buy positions and the 50 MA that is on H1, and then you can see that this trade has been expecting this 50 MA for some time. So this expecting to see some sort of sales other to the 50. You look for buyer positions all the way to the 200 MA that is on the daily time frame. So looking at that pair, that is a GBP USD. Talking about the GBP USD. Talking about the GBP USD. So the GBP USD also we can see that our chart. Looking at it on the daily time frame, I should minimize my chart. So looking at this one, you can see also this is how we have this structure. So at this structure, we saw this market initially it was support broken up, and whenever we see support being broken up, it comes to the resistance, and that's why we are seeing we're expecting some pullback to confirm the break of structure, and at that region is where we have the 200 DMA that is on the daily time frame. We're expecting some sort of the bullishness of there to the 200 DMA for us to enter our set position as a low risk trade. That is on a GBP USD. So talking about the AUD USD, talking about AUD USD, still one of the trade we're looking for the sales opportunities. That is at the 200 MA. So the 200 MA is where we'll be waiting for our setup for sales, as we can do the correlation between this pair, between the group 1 and the DXY. So you can see that for the DXY, we're waiting for it to come to the 200 DMA daily, and also for this one, we're expecting for it to come to the 200 EMA or the daily EMA, so that we can look for search opportunities. Where we have this 200 EMA, that is on a daily time frame. So we'll be checking for the search opportunities. Another trade we can check is NZD. Another trade we can check is NZD USD. So talking about the NZD USD, you can see we have this structure. You can draw it. So we have this structure. So being broken up, so be expecting some sort of a retest, at that point. And that's why you can see you're waiting this trade at this point to be a low risk trade. So the 200 DMA that is on day frame for the group 1 is when we're expecting for these setups. So talking about the group 2. The group 2, we can start with the idea of these are USD JPY. And talking about the USD JPY, this is one of the pairs that we have been shorting. We have been very bearish on them, talking about the yen pairs. And looking at this pair, we can see we saw this market coming to test this 50 MA. And I would be expecting on this trade, I would be expecting this trade coming on the way to 150. So the 150 is where it be stated to be our take profit 1. So at our 150 mark is where we're interested to see our take profit 1. And we're expecting for sales continuation, that is on a USD JPY. So USD JPY is one of the pair that will be looking for sales opportunities because of these two economies. And also talking about this USD JPY is one of the pair that we said we are going to trade in a technical way. So USD JPY, we usually say whenever you get setups, we should trade it at a low risk trade. The low risk trade is where we usually interested for us looking for the setups. So that is it on USD JPY. So USD JPY right now, I'll be interested to see some sort of pullback. Interested to see some sort of pullbacks all the way to the 50 MA of position for sales. And when looking at this pair, we're very, very bearish on it. So another pair we can check is USD CHF. Talking about USD CHF on the daily time frame, as it is our custom to look on the higher time frame. So we're looking this trade on a higher time frame, that is on the daily time frame. You can see that our trade has been a buy momentum. Trade has been a very clean uptrend. And talking about this trade, on the correlations. So you can see this trade, looking at the technicals, looking at the fundamentals, is one of the trades that are very bullish on it. And you can see that our trade has come and retested these 800 EMA. So we've seen some sort of buys all the way to the 50 EMA. And we see if this trade will it bounce above 50 EMA for us to position ourselves for the buy opportunities. So when coming to the H1 time frame, we'll be interested for us to position ourselves for a buy on this trade. We'll be interested to see some sort of W pattern. So we'll be interested to see some sort of a W pattern so that we can align ourselves that we are buying this trade. So we expected to see some sort of a W pattern so that we can see if we can get some small buys all the way to that region. So this trade, talking about the dollar pairs right now, you can see there's a lot of mixed reaction, because you can see DXY is selling, and also be talking about gold. So gold, you saw it selling massively on Friday. So talking about this USD CHF, we expected some W pattern for us to align ourselves for the buy opportunities. Talking about another pair, that is USD CAD. The USD CAD is one of the pair that we are waiting for the buy opportunities. But for this one, because of the selling of the dollar, we're expecting to get buy opportunities, the 200 EMA. The 200 EMA is where we tested for us to check in for the buy opportunities. Coming to the lower time frame, that is on H1 time frame. So, but also for this one, we tested to see some sort of a W pattern to see if we can get some buy opportunities. So right now, you can see this trade not in a key reversal region. So we can wait for them to align so that we can position ourselves on these major pairs. So talking about the major pairs right now, you can see there's no a clean setup for us to position ourselves. So talking about the group 3, talking about the group 3, we have the GBP card. Talking about the GBP card, still on the trade, we are looking for the sales opportunities, but for this one, you can see the trade came and adjusted the 50 MA, and this is still one of the trade that is still on our watch list. Coming to looking at it on the lower time frame, so you can see that our trade has been held up by a lot of EMAs, and I'm expecting to see some sort of a break above out of the Asian box, so that we can look this trade for sales opportunities. But right now, nothing much on this GBP card. So another trade we can check is the GBP UD. Okay, talking about GBP UD, this is one of the pair that you're looking for the sales opportunities, but for this one, you saw the market going without giving us second leg of M. We're expecting for this trade to give us a second leg of M at this point, but the trade did not give us the second leg. So we saw this market going with the lower lows and the lower highs. So for these ones, we expected to see some bounce at the 50 MA. So at this region, so we better sell to look for the sales opportunities so that we can sell all the way to the previous low. We're expecting to sell this trade all the way to the previous low. So that is in the GBP UD. Another trade we can check is a GBP NZ. So talking about the GBP NZ. So the GBP NZ. Also, we saw this one came and gave us an M pattern. So for this one, came and gave us an M pattern. For that region, we had this pattern, and we saw market moving very well. So the market came and gave us an M pattern of this region. So the market moving very well. But also for this one, we started right now. We expected to see some sort of pullbacks. The 800 EMA, that region that got broken up. We expected for this market to come at this region where we have this crossover between 200 and 50 for us to position ourselves for sales. So at this region, this will be having a trade as a long trade. So that is it on the GBP NZ. So another trade we can check is GBP CHF. And talking about the GBP CHF, still one of the trade that we are monitoring for it to give us an entry. So these are the region that we expected for the trade to give us an entry, and the trade did not manage us to give us a trade. So we saw the last week we had the CHF CPI, and we saw the market selling very nicely. So, but for this one, expecting for the market to come and to give us some sort of sales opportunities, the ADR high, and the stop and boxes will be tested for us to take in for the sales opportunities. That is on GBP CHF. So another pair we can check is the euros. And talking about the euros, we have the euro card. And talking about the euro card, that is on a daily time frame. The traders come and to test our the EMA, that is the 200 EMA and the 50 EMA. So for this one, we'll be tested to see some sort of patterns. Now for us to position ourselves on this trade, we'll be expected to get some sort of M pattern. We're expected to see some sort of M patterns. You can see at this region, the market is coming tested. These are 50 EMA. We're expected to see some sort of M patterns for us to position ourselves for sales all the way to the previous low, all the way to the previous low. That is it on my euro card. Another pair we can check is a Euro UD. So Euro UD, here it is. And for this one, looking at it on the daily time frame, you can see the trade came and adjusted 50 MA very well, very well. That for this one, we saw the market going by not giving us setup. So we saw this one selling very nicely. And for this one, we expected for the market to give us some sort of importance, but the market went without giving us an entry. So, but for this one, right now, we'll be checking some sort of pullbacks to the 50 MA. We see if we can get for an entry at that region so that we can sell all the way to the previous. So you can see we're expecting the GBP, expecting the GBP, expecting the euros for sales opportunities, expecting for sales opportunities. And talking about we're looking for the sales opportunities. This is because we have been seeing these economies have not been doing well. Talking about the central banks. Talking about the central banks, we've been seeing these talking about the central banks. Talking about the central banks, the interest rates. Interest rates, we've been seeing these economies have been touching their rates. Touching their rates. So that's why we are positioning ourselves for sales setups on these economies. So another trade we can check. Another trade we can check is a Euro CHF. It is. So talking about Euro CHF, we saw this market. Yes, last week. We saw this market last week, giving us a very clean setup. This trade came and gave us clean setup, a very clean M pattern. So the market is selling very nicely. But for this one, we said we're waiting for the trade to come to the neckline, but eventually we did not see this market come to the neckline. So for this one, we're expecting to see if we can get some bigger pullbacks. Expected to see some bigger pullbacks to allow us to position ourselves for sales. And right now, you can see that our trade is being held up by EMAs. So you can see our trade is in between the EMAs. So we expected to see some break back, give us some pullbacks so that we can position ourselves for further sales. So that is on our Euro CHF. Another trade we can check is Euro NZ. So talking about Euro NZ, still on the trade, still on our watch list, but I'll be expected to see some sort of pullbacks. Expecting some sort of a pullback for us to look for the sales opportunities. And for the pullbacks, waiting for the trade to come to that region, to give us some sort of lower highs and the lower lows, and we'll be targeting at the previous low. We'll be targeting this trade at the previous low. So that is it on the euros. Talking about the JPYs, we have the GBP JPY, and this trade, this is one of the trades that we are very bearish on them. Very bearish on them. Talking about the GJ, eventually we saw the market came and tested this 50 MA. So the market came and tested that 50 MA as we speculated. And for this one, we'll be talking about the yen pairs, the JPY strengthening. We've been seeing the JPY strengthening. And talking about the Japan, we've been seeing the positive wage growth. Also, we'll be expecting for the Bank of Japan, we'll be expecting the Bank of Japan, that is BOJ, to increase their rates. We're expecting a rate hike. We're expecting a rate hike in the Bank of Japan. And that's why we're talking about the Japan or the yen pairs strengthening. So talking about the GJ, of the pound as the base currency, we're expecting for sell continuation. And talking about this one, we're targeting all the way to these previous lows. Targeting all the way to the previous low as our take profit. Targeting this low take profits. So for this one, looking at it on the H1 time frame, looking at this trade on H1 time frame. Looking at this trade on the H1 time frame. So I'm expecting to see some sort of the pullbacks to the 50 MA. So this region is where I'm interested to see some possible setups. So at this 50 MA is where I'm interested to see some sort of confirmation of a candle so that we can position ourselves for sales all the way to the previous low. So this is one of the trades that we're going to see trade. The GBP JPY or the yen pairs is one of the pairs that we're very keen on them to give us setups to sales. Talking about CHF JPY, talking about CHF JPY, so still one of the trade we're monitoring for it to come up to this region. Now we saw this trade giving us a sort of an M pattern, a very clean M pattern this region. So you're seeing the trade is coming to the neckline. So this neckline is where we tested to see some sort of sales opportunities so that we can align ourselves for sales all the way to the previous low, all the way to the previous low. Okay, talking about the Euro JPY, see the Euro JPY is one of the traders that are still speculating for sales. And for these JPY pairs, we're waiting for them to come all the way to the 50 MA so that we can position ourselves for sales. So that region is where we decided to see some reversal patterns, position ourselves for sales, and targeting all the way to the previous low. So that is it on the NPS. So talking about the metals, we have gold. And we saw last week gold selling massively on Friday. So on gold, talking about gold on the higher time frame, that is on daily time frame, we're expecting to get, we are still on the uptrend. We're still on our uptrend. But for this one, I'll be interested to see some pullbacks. So, and talking about some pullbacks, we've been seeing this market has been making the higher highs. The trade has been making the higher highs, the higher lows. So that means we are still on an uptrend. And I'm talking about this one. So talking about that region, so I'm started to see some bigger pullbacks. So this region, so I'm interested to see some bigger pullback for longer term buys. And also checking about this uptrend on the H4 time frame. On H4 time frame, H4 time frame. H4 time frame, that we can see that our trade came and retested this 50 MA, and you can see this 50 MA has been acting as a support region. So these are 50 MA has been acting as a support region. So if you get some sort of patterns, these are 50 MA that is on the H4 time frame, that coming to H1 time frame to the raw time frame to look for the entry, I'll be tested to enter for buys. And talking about the buys, I'll be tested to see some sort of W pattern. I'll be tested to see some W patterns for me to position myself for buys and targeting all the way to the previous high of the profit. So I'll be tested to see some sort of a W pattern at this region, very clean W pattern, and targeting all the way to the previous high. But still, gold, looking at the trend, looking at the seasonality, you're still speculating, looking at the correlation between the DXY and gold. I'm expecting gold to go further for buys. So gold, checking for the opportunities to long. Talking about silver. This is one of the trades that I entered last week. But for this one, expecting for further confirmation of a buy. And expecting for further confirmation of a buy. So last week we saw the market came and break this a previous high, but eventually we saw the market closing below that region on Friday. So, but expecting some sort of a buy, some sort of a buy on this silver trade. So still I'm holding that trade for a buy. So, but looking at this one on the time frame, H1 time frame, expecting to see some sort of W pattern, and so that I can add buy position on this silver trade. Now that trade we can check in the stock indices. And talking about stock indices right now, you can see there's a lot of bullishness on these pairs. Looking at it on the daily time frame, you can see our trade came and broke the resistance region as we are waiting for this region. So you saw this market came and but resistance region. Then you're hoping for it to act as a support region. And if you get some pullbacks, if you get some sort of the pullbacks, this region is where I'm interested for me to add a position for buy starting on S&P 500. And also talking about Nasdaq, I'm expecting some pullbacks to add position for buys. Talking about US 30, I'll be expecting for a break above the high and a retest for buy position. So this is one of the trades that I'm monitoring very cleanly to add position for buys. So that is it on the stock indices. Talking about the Bitcoin. Here it is. And talking about the Bitcoin, you're expecting this market to break above 50 MA, but you can see that our trade has been held up by the 50 MA, and for this one, we'll be expecting for a break above 50. So be expecting for break above 350, and the latest look for buys all the way to the previous highs. So right now, nothing much on the Bitcoin. So be expecting for a break above 50 EMA, and the latest at what position for buys that are targeting the highs, targeting the previous highs. So that is it on Bitcoin. Another trade we can check is the oil. Another trade we can check is oil. And I'm talking about the oil. This is one of the trades that I'm still holding it. This is one of the trades that I'm still holding it. And I took this trade where we had these pullbacks at this region. Now for this one, talking about the oil, I'm expecting for this trade to sell, expecting for the sales to prevail, and I'll be targeting all the way to the previous low. But looking at this trade of the H1 time frame, you can see we are getting some sort of the pullbacks. Now for this one, I'll also be checking for the 50 MA and the 200 MA to position for sets. That is on oil trade. So be interested to look for the sales opportunities on the oil. So that is the analysis of today. And a disclaimer: this is not for the financial advice, but for the educational purposes. So you must do your due diligence and use proper risk management. See you tomorrow, the same time, the same place.